So I've been working on my tunnel ram manifold here for my Chevelle for the race car, and I got the nitrous bungs in, got the nitrous kit in, and what I did was I had the machine shop bore the holes here for these bungs, and normally these bungs are welded in, but because it's so close to the injector here, I didn't want to weld it in there. I didn't want to take a chance of messing up the threads on the bung and on the threads on the manifold. So I drilled a hole here, tapped it, and just put a set screw in there. So the set screw holds the bung, and then the injector screws into that. So now I can take these lines off here, and I can turn the nitrous injector in and have the set screw hold the bung in place. So I can set everything up, and then once it's ready to plumb, then I'll just put these back. Like, I'll take them out, I'll put some sealer around it. They don't really need it because it's such a tight fit. The machine shop did such a nice job. They're just very snug fit, so there won't be any leaking around there like a vacuum leak or anything like that. I mean, this thing is going to be idle or full throttle anyway, so it's not really going to matter. But I'm going to seal them up anyway with a little thread sealer or something, and that's going to work just fine, and then it's going to look a lot cleaner than having that big ugly weld around there. So that's what I'm up to now. So I'm just going to take these lines off here when I'm ready, and then I can set everything in place. I can turn these in to where they're supposed to be with the alcohol injector lines off. And then I'll put the alcohol injector lines back on and start plumbing the nitrous fogger system. So that's going to work out really well. Also on the inside here, I'm going to have to, once I get the height of the bungs, then I just go in there with a grinder and level it all out with the port. And we got them at a little bit of an angle because we had to get them on the outside of or the insides of the ports here. I got the machine shop to put it at a 3-degree angle just to get it a little more of a shot into the cylinder rather than having it hit the edge of the cylinder. There was really no other way to do it. I could have put the bungs up here, but it was going to be hard to get a straight shot at it because of this angle here. If we get a straight shot at it, the bung would have to be, 4 inches long to get into the port. Otherwise, it would just stick out here. So, also I could have put I guess a 90-degree style fogger nozzle in there, and then just have this milled off, and then just have it going in this way. But I decided to use an annular nozzle, which is just a straight shot nozzle, and apparently it makes more power. So this is the way we had to do it. So I think it's going to work out well. Just turn these a little bit in like that. The nuts can still get on there. So I think it's going to look pretty good. So I'm going to get started on plumbing this thing, and then I'll get back to you. Well, I'm working on this fogger setup here, plumbing things in, and actually I had the whole thing together already. You can see this side here is done. So that was pretty much just a mock-up. Now what I'm doing is taking everything apart, and with these stainless steel fittings here, it's very important that they get lubed. And I didn't have them lubed when I put it together the first time because I knew I was going to take it all apart again. Stainless steel threads will gall up if you don't lubricate them. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking everything apart, lubricating these threads, and I just use a little bit of this camshaft lifter lube, really slippery stuff, and I just lube everything up, and then I'm putting everything back together. And I also got to put some thread sealer and seal all these fittings up here on the solenoids and everything. So right now I'm just going to lube everything up and seal all the threads. Put it all back together, and then I want to do a flow test. I'm going to hook up a nitrous bottle and hook up some 12-volt power to it, and we'll see what kind of a spray we get out of these annular foggers. So I'll carry on. So there it is, all done. Everything works, no leaks. The only thing left to do is run a fuel line from the fuel solenoids here up to the regulator on both sides, and then this is where the flow gauge goes, and then the inlet is here for the fuel, and then I'm going to put my fuel temperature or fuel pressure sensor in here for the electric gauge that I have in the car. But yeah, it worked out really well. I like it. So yeah, it should work really good. Right now I got a 400 shot of nitrous in there, so that spray was for a 400 shot, but there's no fuel going through it. The fuel isn't really that much. I don't want to hook the fuel line up to it and the fuel pump and everything else to see what kind of spray it has with the fuel, because that'll just make a mess. But so that's what a 400 shot looks like coming out, and I can hardly wait to put this on the motor to test it. That's going to look sick sticking out the hood of my Chevelle. You know, all these wires will get tied up, and I'll put them into weather pack connector that plugs directly into the weather pack connector that I have in the car already for the fogger, for the progressive controller. Last year I didn't really use that controller very much because the car seemed to work really well, just hitting it. I think the most I sprayed last year was 350, and it seemed to work until the rear end blew up. But right now I got a 400 shot in here, so I'm going to use the progressive to start. You know, probably start at 50% or something and then wrap it back in just to get a feel for it, because it should make more power than it did last year. I mean, we're going from 520 cubic inch up to 582. Plus this tunnel ram should make more power and torque than the stack injectors, so that is going to be a sick setup, man. Can hardly wait to get going on it. I've been working on the Dodge here a little bit. I got the shifter in and almost done with that. Fuel system is almost done, so I'll be working on that next week. I'll put this back in the box and wait for the motor. So I'll see you guys later.